You know what? The world of retail has never been more exciting, and the changes we've experienced to date, they're probably nothing compared to what's to come. You guessed it, we're here at the NACS Show in Las Vegas. This is the biggest convenience event in the world, 24,000 people. All the top guys, they're right here. Well, today I'm joined by Rod Zavala of Puma, Jay Erickson of EG Group, Joe Barrett at Applegreen, and Matt Danielsen of Liquid Barcodes. Gentlemen, welcome. Right, guys, the question I wanted to ask first is what keeps you awake at night? Joe, what is the single biggest issue for you in the industry at the moment?
I would say our biggest issue by far is the whole area of technology integration. So it's all about back office PCs feeding back into an ERP system, getting better data analytics. I would say second to that, it's just people, getting good staff that will stay with you in our food service business. It's also just the nature of the businesses expanding, they're between living wage and just trying to get people. You've got government influence on immigration policies and access to staff. So I think it's more government influencing staff available to people in our sector is probably the biggest issue.
Now, Rod. I mean, you're in some different geographies. You're in the African market. You're obviously very big in the South American market. Do you recognise some of the concerns that Joe has in your own business?
Yes, definitely. When I look at his business, definitely we are one step behind in terms of developing. So we have more challenges like developing the supply, developing the structure internally to support the growth that the convenience opportunity has for us. But I would say in terms of people, we have the same complications. I mean, having them motivated with the purpose of where we want the company to go and deliver that to the people interfacing the customer day in, day out, that's the biggest challenge.
Well, we're here, right, I suppose, in the hub of the technology part of the convention floor in the NACS trade show. And technology is a big focus, isn't it? And, that's your game, isn't it?
Absolutely. And I think the agenda is really to see the consumers having so little friction around them in everything that they do. So I think on the agenda for the convenience CEOs is really to take away that friction. And I was in Hamburg at a NACS event just 2 weeks ago where Henry Armour was presenting, and he spent 30 minutes on just how can we reduce friction in our customer meetings, in the way that we can do made to order in terms of jump the line and all these things. So I think getting rid of friction, because every consumer feels that there is no friction in other parts of their life, being subscriptions on Spotify or Netflix and so on. How can we bring subscriptions into our world? So I think my feelings that have to help the convenience retailers also to get rid of that friction, so that we're not becoming an inconvenience store but a convenience store.
Very good. Now, Jay, do you recognise some of the same issues, obviously, from your many years of experience here in the US market?
Sure, definitely. We operate in 23 states, and so the economy has been great in America. And what we're seeing is that unemployment going from 1% to 3% in a lot of the markets that we operate in. And so it is a challenge to continue to step up your game from a recruiting standpoint, and then also, making sure that you're retaining the employees that you have, because the employees are so important to the business, and that is the biggest challenge, is really trying to make sure that you're recruiting and continuing to keep the talent.
Can I just ask the question? I mean, what's your experience been in terms of getting to know the EG model and how that works globally? Because obviously everyone's talking about it.
Sure. Taking what they've done and their success that they've had over in the UK and being able to bring it to the States and really have a clean operational model, to run great stores has been really encouraging. It's been motivating to make investments into capital, into our existing assets that we have. Our employees are very excited to see that we're building stores and we're acquiring stores and we're remodeling stores at a rate that we've never done before. So that's been very exciting.
Now, thinking about the consumer, looking at globally how the consumer is becoming ever more demanding, obviously a huge amount of retail disruption going on. Joe, is it tough for the convenience operator, operating in many geographies as you are now? Is it quite tough to stay in touch with those needs?
Yeah, I think what we do is we differentiate between each market we're in, because what we would find, if you take, say, the Northeast in America and the Southeast, they're very different customer base, very different requirements, and I think that's really important to recognise that you're in a different environment for the customer, and an Irish customer is very different to a UK customer. Even Southern Ireland is very different to Northern Ireland. So that's, I think, one thing we do well, is we recognise those differences, and then we look to see some areas are very good with technology, so we invest in drive-throughs, kiosk ordering, and a lot we're working now on ordering by phone and that type of idea, whereas other states, they're less adaptable to take up those new technologies, and you have to work closely with the customer to try and bring them along. The other thing we find with the customers, they're definitely now moving a lot more to healthy eating. I think our biggest issue that we would see is trying to offer good value healthy eating. I think the demand for better quality foods would improve if we could get it there at a cheaper price, but it's still very competitive to get a burger, chips and Coke or a slice of pizza versus a healthy salad. There's still a big price differentiation, and customers are still going for the traditional food over the more healthy, but it's slowly but surely getting there.
So I suppose, one size fits all doesn't work.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that gives a global business, a huge amount of complexity to deal with, doesn't it, guys? I guess.
Definitely.
Across your geographies, Rodrigo. Is it a challenge to get it right, differently in different markets?
Yes, because you have many propositions in terms of formats, in terms of hour of service, in terms of the technology that you deploy in each individual segment. So it's a lot of moving parts that have to fit properly to be successful in front of the customer.
Digital is tough to execute without friction, isn't it, Matt? Do you see? You obviously work with clients all over the world. Do you see a common requirement, in that respect? And is it straightforward, if you like, to implement your systems, globally, or some markets a long way ahead of others?
No, I think in terms of the POSs, the EPOS systems, which is a basis for everyone, it's getting along. I think more and more it's been very fragmented in many markets, but I think everyone have understood that they have had to take that investment. So I see that being happening all over, actually, in all markets. And think in terms of the customer-facing apps and the mobile initiatives, I think also everyone have understood that that's important. I think there are some that really stands out, that really have taken it on a strategic level and really understood that every opportunity in store is an opportunity to get an online customer, so getting into the app and then use the mobile app to drive traffic into the store again. So I think that there are still a lot of retailers that haven't really taken that up to the CEO level. It still remains with the IT and the marketing teams. But if you take Richard Young in Hong Kong, Circle K Hong Kong, maybe he is the best one globally now in terms of really understanding this is the strategic opportunity for him. So his O2O strategy is not just about the mechanics, it's really on a strategic level. So his program is really impressive.
Do you think over the... Sorry, Rod, come in.
In getting data from customers at the point of sale, we are installing sensors and cameras, and the amount of information that you get from that, now we are doing the business intelligence to get actionable data, but it's impressive. If you can connect the individual without that information on service, on timing, on where the customer went, color mapping, once we connect those, this will change dramatically.
But I think you have to be very careful that you don't let technology overtake the customer experience, because I think the reality is customers are normally driving to our locations. They've been in the car for a long time. They're looking for a pleasant smile and a good experience when they get into your store. And I think that's one thing that we can't move away from, and you have to keep on working on that customer service and customer experience. And sometimes you can get too technology focused and less on the service, and that's one thing we try to keep an eye on.
Yeah, I agree. It's a balance. It's a balancing act.
Yes. Yeah.
So, I mean, customer experience, Jay. I mean, I think, you know, if you look at EG Group in the UK market, you know, obviously as a customer, I see that every day. You know, is that opportunity there to make that experience better in the US market as well?
Yeah, definitely. You know, EG is a great operator, and so you know, their claim to fame is that they will, especially with brands, is that they run the brands as well as the brands run themselves, or even better. So it's really taking care of the customer, making sure that when you come in, you get a great experience. You know, that's a clean store. That's a, you know, that's a greeting. That's a thank you. That's a quick experience to get in and get out. And so, yeah, there is a lot to learn. EG does a great job over in the UK, and we're applying those metrics here.
Now, last year at the show, a lot of talk was about Amazon Go. You couldn't go to a conference without seeing Amazon Go. And I don't hear about Amazon Go anymore. And I mean, do you feel in a way that the industry has kind of learnt from, you know, from what Amazon Go are doing? And we're starting to see implementations of fast payment, aren't we?
If I come back to the first point I was making about technology, that's one of the things that we're finding is that you need to have a good platform that can enable you to take on all these up-to-date technologies, and it's everything from loyalty to scanning to payments by phone and all that, and that's something we're working on to get the base right, and then from there to work up on the more up-to-date technology.
Yeah, and as you were saying, it has to be transparent for the customer, no? Because the customer, if you put in the middle like barriers, it would be a worse customer experience. But if you make it transparent, then you have a possibility.
It has to be simple too. It has to be simple to execute so that you can explain it to the consumer so they understand how to use it.
Yeah.
I think a very important component there is competence. I mean, in your teams.
Yes.
Because, I mean, technology can do whatever you dream of, but if you don't have the competency in your teams to actually make use of it and make smart use of it and don't take it too far and so on. And if you talk about Albert Heijn and the way that they actually organize their business in Scrum, I mean, like a tech company, the way that they operate and the kind of digital competence that they brought into the team as well is quite impressive. So I think competence is key. There's so much technology out there. There's so many ways to do it wrong. And I think it's not just the digital competence, but it's the match of that with operational understanding and convenience, retail understanding.
Yeah, because it's really from a home office, having the technology teams that can execute, but at the store level as well, having your associates and your managers really understand the program backwards and forwards, because you know, most consumers learn about a program or understand a program from the front level associate who's going to explain it to them. And so if our associates can't explain it or don't understand it, it's really hard to explain it to the consumer.
So guys, if I'm going to put a crystal ball in the middle of the table here, and I'm going to say, okay, so in 5 years' time, what does your business look like? I mean, who'd like to go first on that little topic?
If I took it as being not, say, our business, but if you look at the industry, I think there's definitely going to be further consolidation. You see in the States with EG Group coming up, NX buying in, the likes of ourselves, you're seeing a lot more global people moving around, and you're seeing a smaller number of bigger players coming into the market. I think you're definitely going to see a lot of investment into new facilities and a smaller number of bigger facilities that offer customers a lot more attractive items, whether it's Starbucks drive-throus or branded food to go like a Burger King or whatever, and healthy food options like Chopped and that type of idea. So I think you're definitely going to see lots of that movement. You'll find technology will be a big part of it as well, to help people with pay by phone, to pre-order, all that type of idea will definitely be there. So it's going to be more global, more bigger players, more significant investment, and I think some of the smaller operators will find it difficult to stay in the race within the industry. 5 years' time, Jay, what's going to look like here in the US?
I agree. Continued consolidation of stores will make a lot more advancement in solving that last mile for delivery of food. Our food offerings from a branded standpoint will continue to grow. I see stores becoming destinations, becoming larger destinations, and just exciting. Technology, I think, from a loyalty standpoint, I think will probably be what now our fourth generation of probably loyalty programs. I'm already hearing companies that are now in their second or third generation of evolution on loyalty, and so I think we'll continue to evolve from a loyalty standpoint.
So will Puma be a different business in 5 years' time?
I believe that Sister Never will be a center of solutions. That's the way, I mean, we don't know what are we going to offer 5 years' time, but definitely with the focus of reducing friction and solving our customers' problem.
Yes. How about you, Mats? What's
I
your
think
view?
it's key actually for everyone to put even more out to the consumer and not to rely too much on the employees.
Yeah.
I think you will have challenges to recruit the right people, and you'll have turnover, and so the more you can put actually on the consumer, the better actually. And I think also you see that in the restaurant business. You see that with a lot of the ones that doesn't have all this legacy that the convenience retailers have. They start with the mobile and they start to put a lot onto consumers. I think also consumers expect to be self-served and have control. And in terms of loyalty, in terms of the next generations, I think you have to go beyond engagement. I think you have to really do things that really captivates your customers, that really makes that wow and makes you stand out. And points is not enough, stamp cards is not enough, coupons is not enough. So you have to do more.
Just one other thing to add, which I'm surprised we haven't brought it up yet, but is the whole area of electric cars. Because that's a huge technology development that's going to happen. You see it much more in Europe than you see it in the States. There's definitely going to be more advancement there in sort of longer driving hours available. I took a Tesla out for a week just to get a good experience with it. It was fantastic in Dublin on short trips, but when I went up to Belfast and back again, it was a nightmare. I had to stop and charge twice. So I think they're going to improve things. So over time, especially in Europe, you'll see electric cars. So you'll get people will dwell more often in our locations, and they'll come in for half an hour and eat some food and drink some coffee. And I think it'll have an impact on diesel and on leaded and the whole future development of our forecourts.
Well, guys, thank you very much for spending the time. Enjoy the rest of the show here. I know we all will. And as ever, a delight to talk with you and spend time.
Thanks
very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.